I've spoken to maybe about 150 tradies in 2 rooms over the last 6 weeks. And one thing I asked both of those rooms were, how many of you have gone back through and chased up your old leads, inquiry or prospects or proposal or pitches over the last little while? 0 hands.
Yep. The number one predictor of success in your building company is your growth. No matter what it is, there's someone else who's done what I want to do well, and if I can shortcut the result that they're getting by learning from them, I'm going to get there much faster in a straight line than trying to figure it out on my own.
An absolute treat for business owners and especially those in the trade space today, because we have Marti in the hot seat from the Professional Builder. Geez, it is good to see you, and I'm looking forward to unpacking some value out of that very big brain of yours.
Oh, thanks, Luke. Appreciate the kind words. And dude, I just want to say what a great podcast you have and a great business. Like, epic to be sitting down face to face.
Thank you. Well, recently you have released this book. I haven't got that far yet, but I tell you what, like I started flicking through the PDF version and now looking at the hard copy. You've put some serious work into this. So it's called the Profitable Builder's Playbook. And it's taken you how long to put this together?
Yeah, it's taken 2.5 years, and it's basically a collection of the last 21 years of every lesson that we've learnt on how to grow building companies and give them, a business that gives them true wealth, both more money and more time.
Nice. And I think a lot of business owners and everybody that's what a lot of us are searching for, right? More time to do what we want and more cash.
100%. And most people only focus on the latter, the more cash. And so they quite often end up building themselves a prison, whereby they're working all hours, they're juggling all the balls, they're doing, the pricing, scheduling, running after the team, and they haven't built the systems and hired and trained their team to actually build a business. And so they end up, quite often hating the business that they've built
and what they're doing. So we'll go back to the start soon, but drawing from experience with over 2,500 building company owners across 5 countries. I think that's what's really impressive, and what I'm keen to unpack in this too is like how much different the challenges are via each country, or does it really come back to a principles approach where people get stuck with the same things?
Yeah, it's first principles. So the principles that apply in this book apply to every business owner. And so you have to build a pipeline. Like, you have to have a good value proposition, marketing that, gets people to know, like, and trust you, and then a good sales process that converts them. Next, you need to understand your numbers. So you need to price to a target margin and reverse engineer how much profit you want to be making, no matter what business you're in, whether it's a mortgage broking firm, accounting, cleaning, or a building company. And then you need to understand your numbers. So what are the KPIs that drive the outcomes, right? So you've got inputs and outputs. And your financials are the outputs, and your KPIs are the numbers or the levers that we can pull in business to impact those outputs. And then lastly, no man is an island or builds a business on their own. It takes a village to raise a child, and any other, moral of the story that you want to check in there. And so we need systems to run the business. So systems run the business, and we hire and train the team to run those systems both on-site and in the office. So it gives you back time, and you as the leader can then steer the ship.
All right. Well, you've obviously got a world of knowledge in there, and we will go through a lot of that. But firstly, I read, and I want to confirm, you grew up in Stewart Island. Is that right?
Yeah, it's 6 fingers, web feet, swab across the ditch. So I was born there. There's only 400 people live there, and it's just paradise to go back to. So went there, and then my parents got divorced when I was 10, went to high school in Nelson, Waimea College in Richmond, and then went down to university at Otago and did marketing down there.
Yeah. Okay, so you leave uni with a marketing degree. What do you tear into first?
Well, while I was at uni, I had a lot of entrepreneurial mates there, and I was doing marketing. So I did an honours, a master's, started doing a PhD, and lectured on marketing. So I got to see, I'm getting all this academic knowledge. How do I apply this into the real world? So we started quite a few businesses when we were at uni, one called the Dunedin Dining Club. So if you and I went out for dinner anywhere, at any one of these 35 restaurants, your main meal would be free, and people paid a fee, and we learned a shitload of lessons about hiring your mates, firing your mates, all sorts of mistakes. And then one of my mates, he started a company called supplying doormen or bouncers around nightclubs. And that business now is called Allied Security, and it's in New Zealand, Australia, and Canada, and it has 2,500 employees, and is one of a very successful company, and does about $200 million in rev.
So you guys, these were just ideas you were kicking around at university, and basically, and what's the drive? Like, want to make some more money? You've got more time on your hands. What's going on?
Always wanted to have more money, because when my parents divorced, we shifted to Nelson, and I was broke as a broke thing. And my mum, so we lived in like a 2-bedroom small flat. We didn't have a car. We had 10-speed bikes to get around everywhere. My mum had 2 jobs, so she used to clean the school during the days, and then afterwards she would sell apples at the orchard. And so I'd go over after school to help her with, earn some pocket money. And then I'd do all sorts of stuff like holiday jobs. Like I'd go and get a lawn mowing round, and then I'd figure out, okay, cool, how can I get my mates involved in this? And then I got a pamphlet round, and then I split the pamphlet round up and outsourced it to 3 mates who did that, and then I kept the difference and just kind of grew from there.
What's going on in your mind in those years that helps you see these opportunities to sort of scale things, or to split it up, like you say, or to make a dollar?
I've always thought, how can I be the best me that I can be? And whether that's playing tennis, like a friend of ours, David Baker, Rapid QS, big shout out to him, who's very good at tennis, exceptional tennis player. No matter what it is, there's someone else who's done what I want to do well, and if I can shortcut the result that they're getting by learning from them, I'm going to get there much faster in a straight line than trying to figure it out on my own. Like, you can bake, if you want to bake a cake, you can try and figure it out, or try grandma's recipe, or you can get Gordon Ramsay's recipe. It's going to give you all the ingredients with the right amounts in the right order, tell you how to do it, and if you replicate that, you'll get a similar result. So I've always taken that mindset to whatever goal I want to achieve. There's someone who's got a process and a system who's done it, who I can replicate. Like, if I want to get in shape, it might be do 75 hard. If I want to build a big building business, if I want to go on a acquisition path and start acquiring other businesses, who's done that? What can I do to learn from them and shortcut the pain and trial and terror of having to learn it all on my own?
I have this thesis at the moment that these types of skills are going to become even more valuable, because the what and the how is free and basically everywhere these days.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So you can go on ChatGPT, you can Google it, you can listen to a podcast, but you can shortcut your learnings, as people have known for a long time, with a mentor or with somebody who's been there and done it. And those are going to be the people that become incredibly valuable.
100%. So information is becoming commoditized, like it's everywhere. And so a big thing is the difference between information and transformation is the missing ingredient is action. So transformation is the result that you get once you've applied the knowledge from that you've learned with action.
Yeah.
So that's what we've taken into our program, our coaching program, the Professional Builder, is that there's shitloads of information out there, but builders are overwhelmed, they're lacking in time, they're got so many fires to put out. It's how do you have a team that supports them, that'll give them one-on-one coaching, that'll give them plug-and-play templates, and then a community that people are at 1 or 2 levels above them, or there's a North Star, like, dude, you're at 100 mil, I want to get there. That's going to help fast-track those results and give you the confidence to go, hey, that's actually believable, it's achievable, someone else has done it, therefore I can do it. So just like if you want to be a better swimmer, you can do it on your own. But if you get around a community of a swim squad, that's a world-class swim squad where everyone's up at 4:30 a.m., they're in the pool at 5 a.m., they do all their lengths, they're sitting around talking about nutrition, you've got a coach looking at your stroke, and then you're going to get miles better quicker.
I think, coaches can spot what's not working as well, and often we can't. As the student or the exerciser or the trainee or the weightlifter or whatever, we think that we're doing the reps and doing what we need to do, but very quickly a coach can come along and go, oh, that's not actually the way to do it, change and do it this way, and all of a sudden the results start coming faster.
100%. And quite often you've got to go through a bit of a transition period where things don't get better straight away because you're learning different skills. And whenever you're learning different skills, you suck to begin with. And it's okay to suck. It's just that stepping out of that, if you want to get different results, you've got to do something different. It's, as Einstein says, crazy to think that you're going to get different results by doing the same thing, or it's insanity.
Yeah. And that must not go down well with all tradies, though, because like a lot of them, I would imagine their personality type would be, oh, fuck these guys, and they're just trying to make money out of us, and what would they know? But interestingly, in their profession, basically someone like me comes to them and says, could you build this house, because I don't know how, and I'm going to trust them. And that's very normal for them. But I'd imagine if you pop up and say, hey, we can help you, I don't know, the guard must go up.
100%. And I think that's common with a lot of people, and it's common also in the trades. And I think if you don't have a role model, or you don't have someone who's grown the kind of business that you want, you desire to have with the outcomes that you want, then you need to look at, is what I'm doing working? Am I on the right path? Or is there a different path or a different way to get results that I want faster? And when you see, I guess, the proof is in the pudding. So if you're in a community, so we've got over 1,000 members in our Facebook group. We have over 500 active clients, and we've coached close to 3,000 members now over the last 21 years. And so we take best practice of what's working well from them. We interview them, whether it be hiring apprentices, how to charge for your quotes, how to structure yourself out of the day-to-day, what scorecards should be for each of your team, from your project manager, your QS, etc. And we then show them, these are the tools. We have one-on-one coaches to help get them over that hump or concern or fear of, how do I actually do this? And then we have other members that they can talk to. We've got our summit in Auckland next week that we've got 100 people coming to from New Zealand and Australia, where they share best practice of what's going on, because it's a very tight-lipped community, because a lot of builders compete against other builders in St Heliers or in Sydney going for similar jobs. They're like, well, I don't want to share that. And quite often they have the old school builders who might have been successful back in the day, 20 or 30 years ago, who have that mindset of, yeah, just put 10% on it, you'll be sweet. Like, well, fuck, what does that actually mean? How do I... Yeah. Where do I apply that 10%? Yeah. What about my overhead recovery margin? What about my P&G?
Yeah. Fascinating. How does one cultivate that curiosity, do you think?
I think there's many different environments. So if you're naturally... It starts with a base desire of wanting to get better, or to be... Do you know the formula for change?
Talk us through it.
Okay, so it's dissatisfaction times by vision plus first steps, FS, must be greater than resistance.
Greater than the resistance.
So dissatisfaction, right? Like, the first thing is, if you're pissed off, frustrated, dissatisfied with anything, then that's a great lever to go, I need to change. Like, something needs to go differently. Then that sets off in motion, well, what, how, who else is doing well? Are there any groups out there? Is there any plug-and-play templates that I can use, or any benchmarks that I can compare myself against? And then you need to figure out, okay, I'm here. I need a vision of what does success look like. So if you took, I've been in Europe for 4 weeks, in Canada, and I've gained 4 kilos. I'm like, okay, I'm dissatisfied. I've eaten and drank too much crap over the last 4 weeks and had a great time. I need a vision of what does it look like to be in shape again in 90 days' time. Right? So I get a clear vision of what does success look like. And then the first steps are, what do I need to do to get back on track? So I need a plan of what am I going to do exercise-wise? How many days am I going to do weights? How many days am I going to doing cardio? Then I need a nutrition plan. So what are my macros? How many calories am I eating each day in terms of protein, fats, and carbs? Broken down so that I'm in a calorie deficit. And then I need some way of monitoring every week the feedback loop. Am I losing weight, and am I getting leaner? So that's the first steps. And then it might be, how do I overcome my resistance? So my resistance might be, well, I don't really like going to the gym, or I catch up with mates 2 or 3 nights a week, or it's cold, or I don't have enough accountability. So I'm like, cool. How can I overcome that resistance? So it might be, I'm going to create the vacuum. I'm going to go and hire a personal trainer. You're like, well, holy shit, I have to show up twice a week. I'm going to go, he's going to ensure I get a nutrition plan done. So now I'm dialed in. and he's going to ensure I have to use my fitness pal to record what I'm eating so that I am in a calorie deficit. And then he's going to measure me every week. And then I'm going to see, well, hey, you're not losing weight on 2,500 calories a day. Let's drop it down to 2,300.
Yeah. So at a high level, the vision of what you want has to be more powerful than what your current dissatisfaction is and what's stopping you?
100%.
Yeah.
So, you can two things. You can either extend your vision massively. So a lot of people get to a certain level of business success, and then it's like, well, thank God I'm out of the pot of boiling water. But it might just mean that they're out of overdraft, or they're able to pay their bills and that. But that's where it's enlarging your vision and thinking, what's possible? I deserve more. My family deserves more, and having some intrinsic motivation for why you should improve your situation. But dissatisfaction is can drive you all the way as well, because you might just think, right, my father-in-law's a dick, said I'd never amount to anything. That teacher said I would suck. I'm going to show them, and you want to show up to a Lambo at your high school reunion.
Yeah, so you rent it. And
Exactly.
But that's pain and how it can be powerful, right? Because we want to move away from it.
100%.
Too many of us signed up to a KiwiSaver plan without much thought. And signing up is great, but if you've never got advice before, you could be missing out. Your KiwiSaver account could become one of your biggest assets over your lifetime. That's why getting expert advice early and ensuring you're in the right fund is so worthwhile. Generate have a team of KiwiSaver advisors available to help. Head to generatekiwisaver.co.nz/change to book a no obligation meeting. They can even come to you. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
So on Tradies then, and just to acknowledge, there'll be people listening to this that aren't in trades and whatnot, so I am trying to bring it back to some of these principles as well, which we will continue to do, but you've got a lot of experience with Tradies, and I'm just interested to learn, what is it that they're normally chasing by the time they go, you know what, I don't know everything, I'm sick of bloody beers with Barry down at the bar talking about how fucking hard it is and there's no work out there. And somebody else goes, sorry boys, can't be part of that convo anymore. Like, I've just signed up for some coaching. I'm off and I'm gone and I'm getting stuck into it. So enjoy your beers. I'm going to do some knocking on some doors or whatever you're going to teach them how to do, right? What is it that they're seeking or that drags them to the point where they go, give me the coaching?
Okay. So
is it
what's that?
I said, is it a boat?
Yeah. The main reason why members come to us is they want to improve their financial situation. That's the number one thing. And typically that might be get out of overdraft, have better cash flow, have better profitability, and be able to hit their goals. The second thing is confidence. So a clear path of action, because there's 1,001 things that we can do as a business owner. As figuring out what's the 20% that's going to move the actual needle. So the first thing that we do is we're very numbers-based. We look at what are their current numbers, we review their profit and loss, we compare it with our members worldwide, and we see where are they out in terms of the golden ratios. So in terms of overhead, gross margin, and net margin, where are they? So your gross margin as a building company owner should be at least 20 to 25%, depending on the type of work that you're doing. Your overhead should then be between 8 to 12%, depending on CapEx expenses, where you currently add, amount of your team, and so forth. And then lastly, and that includes your salary. And that's a big mistake that a lot of business owners and building company owners make, is that they don't incorporate their salary and pay themselves a regular salary so that they have their true overheads, and they can then factor in what they need to do with their pricing to be able to make the right profit.
Yeah.
Yep. And then lastly, are you making a net profit of between 10 to 15% after paying yourself a salary? Because otherwise, it's going to lead to up and down cash flow, being an overdraft, and you may only be one or two projects being put on hold, bank delays, weather delays, away from some serious trouble.
Yeah, because out of that net profit, you've got to pay your loans and stuff back as well, right? So you need that cash flow. Yeah, and I'd imagine the kickback or pushback with those. The beauty of getting into a community is you can't really have pushback once you've signed up to coaching, right? Because everyone just goes, oh, bro, we used to think like that too, mate. Here's how to think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like suddenly you've found your tribe. You've found, motivated people who are winning, and you're like, holy shit, I didn't think I could charge for my quotes. Everyone in my area's quotes for free. And then when you've got 70 or 80 people going, bro, I thought exactly the same thing. Here's exactly how I do it. Here's the tools. Here's the agreement. Here's the exact script. And dude, like, give me a call and I'll walk you through step by step exactly what I do. And here's the training.
Because that's the confidence piece, right? Interesting. So then to take this back to an individual, it's kind of no different, right? Like people they probably find keep the change, or often we find the education we need because we're seeking to improve something in our life. But if we stick to finances, it's much the same, right? Like what overheads do I have? And therefore what's sort of my margin? Then we start adding in the fact that there'll probably be one-off costs and whatnot, and forget to put those in, and that can derail our entire budget.
100%. Like Clear, our marketing manager yesterday, was just saying, keep the change has changed my financial future massively in terms of my budgeting, having a clear plan, what I should be doing with my money, and the investing options available to me. And I'm like, how good is that?
Epic. I love to hear that. And part of my goal is that I can help people be better with money so they can be better with their lives. That sounds prophetic, if that's the term. But because I've been through so many times myself where you're not good with your money, and therefore your life doesn't feel good because your life is good, but you're just focused in this little niggle of like, fuck that credit card bill, or that, or the next surprise, or not for me, but the dog or the cat or whatever, and it unravels all that good work. But I think on the confidence piece for individuals too, what I see is people want to know that they're making the right decisions. And that's, I guess, the really hard thing about individual finance is that there isn't really one way. So as an example, yesterday someone was saying, hey, I can borrow my student loan money at 0% and then invest it. Is that a good idea? And obviously, if you're just looking at can I turn money into more money, that's a great idea, right? We borrow at 0%, we invest it, hopefully that turns into more. But I said, but it doesn't mean that it's actually a good thing to do, because the market might tank. You might move overseas, but you don't know that now. But in 4 years' time, now you have moved overseas and now you've got to pay interest on that debt. Or you don't know what it's like to earn 60, 80 grand a year, but to have to pay that debt back, and it's going to take you longer to pay it back. And that's incredibly frustrating for you. So sometimes I think in personal finance, we want to assume that we can just find a bit of confidence that one thing is the correct thing to do, but don't understand it's got to be right for us as well.
100%. And I think that has a lot to do with the way that you're wired and your risk tolerance. So I believe that the greatest thing you can invest in is in yourself. And so if you're currently bringing it back to personal finances, if you're currently making 100 grand, what skills can you go and learn and invest in terms of sales, marketing, leadership, that are going to have you earning 150 to 180K, and that are going to accelerate that very quickly to then give you a greater amount to be able to invest into whatever asset class you want to invest in, whether it's stocks, property, bonds, whatever.
Yeah, and I guess then going back to what you were talking about before, you need a clear enough vision of why that's important to you, right? Because I think, even an older version of me would hear that and go, well, that's just not possible to go from 100 to 150, 180. Like, I don't know anybody that's got a 50% pay rise, or because we want it to happen so quickly, right?
And I think that's where education and being in communities of people who are achieving what you want is a game changer, because it gives you the confidence. You're like, holy shit, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And it's almost like smarts gets in the way because you overthink things and you get paralysis of analysis or paralysis by analysis. And you think, well, yeah, but what about this? And I could do it this way. And is that the right way? Whereas some of the best members in our program who crush it are the guys and ladies who just come in and just say, oh, you said raise my price 5 cents. Perfect. I'm doing it. You said I should do an information pack. Perfect. Hey, I've done it. Hey, I should hire a VA for 20 hours a week. Man, what a game changer. I've bought back 10 hours a week of my life.
Marty has been kind enough to give us 100 copies of his brand new book. It's over 2.5 years of his deep work with builders, all for free. All you need to do is go to theprofessionalbuilder.com, and on the website you will see that there's a book tab. If you click on that and you are within the first 100 people, you're going to get this book for free. Get stuck in. Hey, let's go back to your journey. So you're at uni and you are already playing the game and wheeling and dealing and looking for ways to make a bit of extra cash. And some of the lads are off to build $200 million businesses and whatnot.
Yep.
What sort of happens over those next 5 years? And I guess, how do you eventually find yourself in the construction space?
So I left university and I shifted to Auckland, and I worked as the marketing director for Honda motorcycles for New Zealand. So I'm a massive petrol head and used to race motorbikes and love doing track days in my cars and so forth. And then, so that was great. You're working with a lot of people with great intellectual horsepower in business, doing international business in America, Japan, Australia, et cetera, And then I got headhunted to be the country manager of Pirelli Tyres. So Pirelli's a premium tyre brand, same as Michelin.
Yeah, I've had to pay for a few of them. Gee whiz.
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it?
Expensive rubber.
It's crazy. I've got a hookup. I could hook you up after this.
Brilliant.
Okay.
All right, this is the proximity, getting close to people. I'll write this down, Pirelli. Yeah, good.
Exactly. I've got your back.
Nice.
And so we grew that to the number one tyre brand in New Zealand. And so that involved, when I first came in, Possum Bourne was the distributor, the rest is sold. And he was only selling about 3,000 tyres per month. And we're like, well, he's just as much into motorsport as he is into being a distributor. So we had different distributors apply to be the distributor for New Zealand. We chose two of them. So they like a request for proposal, RFP. They put their plans together. They say, hey, this is our balance sheet. Here's our backing. Here's our distribution network. These are our retailers. This is our sales force. This is our plan to grow Pirelli. So we chose two different ones, one in the north, one in the south, one in Christchurch, Euro Tyres, and then one in Auckland, CC McPhail, benchmarked them against each other. And then over the next couple of years, we grew that to the number one tyre performing brand as a country. Pirelli was number one in New Zealand for growth throughout the whole world, but it was coming from a low base.
Yeah.
And then I got tired of working for the man.
Tired of, good pun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that? That wasn't even intentional.
Sorry, I spotted it.
Oh, that was good. And so I'd always been into self-help, self-improvement, and I've been reading these Brad Sugar's Action Coach books because they're very tactical on how do I get more referrals, how do I improve my profits, cash flow, etc. So I bought an action coaching franchise, and that was great for quite a few years to learn how to sell, how to market. We did a lot of seminars, and during that time, we helped a lot of builders. And then I thought, well, hey, we've got all these builders who we're able to help. They're great at building great businesses, building great homes. They just need help to build a great business. And we've had all these success stories because they have big average dollar sale. The small hinges can swing big doors, so small changes to their margin going in, project management, margin coming out can make a massive difference to their bottom line. So it's like, well, cool, why don't we focus just on serving builders, coaching builders? So that's when we started the Professional Builder.
What year would this have been?
So this would have been 94 was when I started coaching, so 21 years ago. And so we've been coaching builders since then.
Yeah.
And then we incorporated the Professional Builder, I think, about 10 or 11 years ago.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
Sweet. So, and then just basically niche straight into builders.
Yep.
Yeah. And then do you run out of New Zealand builders, so you go, right, let's go international, or how do you think that big to go outside of New Zealand?
Yeah, so we had three of us when we started. We've got 61 people on the team now.
It's just casually.
Yeah, and I was like, well, there's not much difference between New Zealand and Australia. And we had some inquiries in our marketing from guys in Australia, and I thought, well, why not? Most of the stuff of how we help people is we do online, we have group sessions every week, we do one-on-one coaching every month, we go through their numbers and we see where the gaps are and what they should focus on first. And I thought, well, if we move our business to online, we can help serve 10 times the amount of people or 100 times the amount of people. So we started helping builders in Australia. And so we then traveled to Australia on a regular basis. We would do summits over there. We're doing a roadshow there later in the year. And then we started employing Australian coaches So we have coaches in each of the markets specific to the market that they're operating in. So America, we have American coaches. In Australia, we have Australian coaches. In New Zealand, we have New Zealand coaches. So, and each of our coaches has different areas of expertise. So some are great at sales and marketing, some are great at compliance. 5 of our coaches have owned their own building companies and can still own their own building company, and they do this as a part-time role to help our members.
Wicked. Wow. All right, let's go through 3 things that you normally uncover, say the top 3, or even just 3 that come to mind for builders that they're doing wrong.
The first one, and you'll love this, is numbers.
Yes.
Business is a numbers game. Numbers tell us the language. Numbers is the language of business, and it tells us what's working well, what's not working, and where should we focus. So typically they don't have a budget. The chart of accounts isn't set up correctly, so their cost code categories aren't in the correct order, so they don't have an accurate gauge on what is their gross margin, what are their overheads. I think that's partly from laziness from a lot of accountants not setting it up properly for them. So they don't get a true gross margin, so they don't know how to price their jobs to the right gross margin to be able to make the desired profit and to cover all their overheads each month. So that's the first one, is numbers.
Nice. Okay.
You'd be down with that?
Yeah, before we get to number 2.
Yeah, you can speak on that.
Well, I just think that there's so much in there, right? Even when you start to, that's taking you maybe a minute to unpack, but when you say don't know how to price, there could be a month's work for somebody to correct the way that they're running their business, right? And before we get into 2 and 3, do you end up seeing mindset or this thing up here being a thing that blocks them? So you could unpack that you don't know how to price, but your brain could tell you, you can't charge that for that.
Absolutely.
So is mindset or the brain, is it 2 or 3, or is it just like an overarching thing that can get in the way of all of these things?
It's an overarching thing. So in order to change, first you have to have a desire to change, then you have to have a clear vision of it is possible, what are the next steps that I should do? And then if you can have someone guide you through that, these are the steps. Here's a case study 50 case studies of people who've changed their pricing process. Here's how to price a job quickly and accurately to the right target margin. Here's how to control your margin going in. Here's how to control your margin during the job. And here's how to improve your margin after the job. Then you can apply the levers that you feel most confident to. And if you've got a coach who can help you implement that one-on-one, who's going to give you the confidence, say, look, Luke, what do you want to do out of these 9 margin levers? Which ones are you already doing and which ones do you want to work on?
So someone like David from Rapid QS, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the market is getting him to solve the problem of capacity? Or do you think a lot of these people are going, shit, I want to see how these people price a job compared to how I would price it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're leaning on Rapid QS for.
Absolutely. D, all of the above.
Yeah.
So I think people are outsourcing their pricing to companies like Rapid QS. For one, it takes them too long to price a job. 2, they might not win a job, so it's kind of like a sunk cost that they haven't recovered. 3, they're not 100% certain. Are they doing it right? Are they factoring in everything for P&G, overhead recovery margin, travel, and then their desired net margin at the end of the job? And then 4, do they have their labour recipes right in terms of number of hours per part of the project that they're doing? So, and then lastly, they might have way too many projects to price stacking up on their desk that they're just not getting to. It's like, holy shit, I've got 7 and we've just had another 3 leads come in this week. I've got 10 and I haven't even got to the 2 that are sitting right in front of me that are plum jobs. And if you don't get back to those people within the next, 3 weeks or so, then there's a good chance that you're going to lose them and someone else will price the project and potentially get that job.
All right, so into 2 and 3 then, what would number 2 be?
So in terms of doing things wrong, first thing is numbers.
Yeah.
The next thing is sales and marketing. So not having a consistent way and a predictable way to attract the right kind of work.
And that's probably applicable to, well, 1 and 2 are, but I specifically see number 2 for so many Kiwi business owners where they don't know where their next job is going to come from.
Yeah.
So therefore they price poorly based on the fact that they don't know if they're going to get a job that they do want to do.
Absolutely, 1,000,000%. Like, quite often they rely on word of mouth. And so word of mouth isn't a strategy, it's like hope marketing. I hope that someone turns up in the next couple of weeks and drops a job into my lap, or I get a referral. And they get in this roller coaster of do the work, do the work, do the work. Oh shit, we've only got 8 weeks worth of work left. Get the work, get the work, get the work. And then they run around, talk to people, and try and put themselves out there to get that work. And so you get into this feast and famine roller coaster. And if you don't have that strong pipeline of 12 to 18 months of profitable work booked out, then quite often you might have to compete on price to win a job just to keep you guys busy.
And then we're going to bugger up GP, overheads, net profit ratios, and price poorly. And then get pissed off when we spend a whole year doing a dud of a job that doesn't get us closer to our goals.
100%. Like we had a guy who was doing $11 million who came to us a few years ago from the North Shore and was sitting at 11% gross margin. And I'm like, dude, you're in deep shit here. And he's like, I know. And we couldn't help him fix it. Like, didn't come on board because he actually went under in the next 3 weeks. But that had come from a systemic mindset and lack of process of pricing to a desired target margin, relying upon volume, and not having a process in place to get the right kind of leads, a good process to convert them, and stick to his guns on the kind of work that he would take on at what margin that was right for his team, that really suited him to achieve his goals.
And that's probably why we see so many liquidations and they over index in the construction space, right?
Yeah.
Because perception would be, oh, they're doing these jobs, oh, they're doing over 10 mil, oh, they're killing it. But your brain and mine go straight to what's the GP on this? And even someone would go, well, surely then they're making, like 1.2 million on that. That's that. And well, that ain't enough margin. That's going to break eventually.
Yeah, like turnover is vanity, and profit is sanity. Profit is what you pay yourself, pay your family, pay your mortgage, pay everything with. And the number one predictor of success in your building company is your gross margin.
Nice. You probably can't say that aloud enough, eh? Like we're always trying to ram that home to business owners, and I don't think they get it. Because the way I explain it to tradies, and you would have more experience than I in the space, but I don't care what your projects are worth and your revenue, because when you've got 10 mil of that, but 9.5 mil of costs and whatnot, and running up bills to placemakers and subcontractors and shit, I'm like, you're turning over 500 grand, man. You're not turning over 10 million. Why are you telling me about your 10 million? But I think it's a little bit of an ego thing of like, oh, okay, we're doing these big projects and whatnot. I'm like, show me the GP, show me what's left.
And the fear of changing, because then thinking, well, shit, I've grown a bigger beast. I've got 23 mouths or 80 or 150 mouths to feed. I need the work to keep coming in. Like, I had a cleaning company, and I grew New Zealand's largest private cleaning company called Life Made Easy, and and almost went bankrupt. It was the most stressful 5 years of my life, and it was an absolute disaster. And the number one caveat or principle out of that is you should not scale a low margin business. You can't scale lack of profits, and you can't scale lack of systems, because you'll just run faster on the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
So we had our gross margin was 22%
in the cleaning business.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we were doing something like 1,400 to 1,500 cleans a month. We had.
I'll just pause you there. So gross margin, for those who don't understand, so you've got sales, so like you sell to me to come around and clean my house, but you've still got to come around, you've got to provide the materials, the products, the cleaning products, plus then the labour. So if $100 clean for me, you were left with $22 after paying staff and the Kleenex.
And the problem was that we grew it to 41 team members, and 9 of those were in the office. So we were doing about 1,400 cleans a month. So we were great at sales and marketing, great at systems, but what sucked was our model and our pricing. So if we had had a contractor model, the contractor split is typically in cleaning is 60-40. So 60% to the cleaners, and the cleaners provide their own car, their own tools, their own material, etc. And the company does the work and so forth, and does the marketing and does the sales and does the admin, and they take 40%. But we were only at 22% because we were doing everything. And so what happened is we just kept getting deeper and deeper into this black abyss, and I ended up with something like $347K in overdraft and bills and so forth, and had to liquidate the business. And that was easily the most stressful period of my life, and learned a lot of lessons out of that.
And it would have been frustrating, I would imagine, because you would think, well, how are we doing this many cleans and this many people trust us to have us in their house? Simply by not getting your numbers right. Because I'd imagine out of that 22%, you've then got to pay all of your overheads, and you've probably got lease space, insurances.
Exactly. And then you
debt, like on any vehicles and equipment and stuff. So you got to try and pay that out of that. Fuck.
100%. And it just kept getting, the circle kept getting, deeper and darker and deeper. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I grow myself out of this?
What was there a, I'll ask you about growing your way out of it, but was there a circuit breaker where you go like, okay, ego aside here, enough's enough. I need to put my hand up and see, is this thing going to work? Or like, what?
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't an ego thing. It's hard to have an ego when you're lying in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning awake with 2 small children going, holy fuck, like how do I keep the lights on? How do I actually pay, how do I pay the staff? How do I pay salaries for everyone? How do I pay the lease? There's no ego then.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Okay, so is that sort of that moment where you're like, I need to speak to someone and find out what
because you're trying to dig yourself out of. I was trying to dig myself out of the hole, and I'm trying to think, holy shit, like this is a nightmare, and then chucking good money after bad. So I remember ringing up my mum almost in tears and going, I need to borrow some money, and her going, look, I can't. Don't have any free. And then my dad actually mortgaged his house for $50,000.
Yeah.
And at that stage, what I did was, okay, I've got to. This is a sinking ship. I've got to stop. So I sold the entity, the assets, and so forth, and then liquidated the business. And we had a liquidator came in, and it's amazing once you actually lift that weight off your shoulders. And then I was left with about $340K worth of debt, and I was able to structure a payment plan with the bank, with the creditors, and with the tax department, and then paid that off over the next 5 years.
Well done. Yeah, sure. That's I would imagine that would feed into so many good lessons, because like you've gone to the pain and the hell, right? And it's like, oh great, now I've got a point where I don't want to get back to.
Yeah, when you live these lessons and when you've been through it, and when you can empathize with what building company owners and business owners are going through, and you're like, dude, I get it, I fully get it. And that's why most building company owners come to us because of 2 reasons. 1, lack of knowledge, they're unsure what to do or how to do it. Or 2, lack of action.
Yeah.
So we help them put the knowledge in place with the plug-and-play templates and systems and processes. And then it's about that, how do we help you shortcut getting this into action? So we have peer groups for them to be part of other people who are crushing it. We have the community. We then have one-on-one coaches that work with them every week. And then we have group coaching sessions that have every week, in-person summits. And then we have 3 levels of coaches. So we have specialty coaches that own their own building companies who can take them through pricing and structuring deals and so forth. Then we have performance coaches that work one-on-one with you to get clear on your goals, how to implement the strategies and so forth. And then we have accountability coaches that can ring you up every week and say, hey, Luke,
you do it.
How are you going with the cash flow? Hey, dude, cool. Hey, what are you doing now? Like, why don't we jump online and let's figure this out and get this into play now?
Yeah, nice.
So I think a big thing is if I'd had that support to help someone get me out of that with a structured plan, with accountability, I feel that I could have got out of that, because it wasn't through lack of hard work or skills or knowledge. It was just I was lost and stuck in the maze of business and overwhelmed by all this shit.
See, when people come to me and they're in that position and they're like already in the hole, I know I'm not the guy, because it's too, for me, I'm like, that takes so much change and it's not really fulfilling work for me. But if someone's like, I'm pushing hard and I think I'm doing everything I can. I'm not in debt, but I'm not getting what I want. I'm like, show me under the hood, show me everything, show me in here, let's go.
Yeah.
And I love that. Because instantly I think, 22% margin cleaning. My brain goes to, could you have offered, if you've got 1,400 cleans, like how many clients did you have? Must have 10,000? Is there an email database? Could we offer to do them some high value things?
Oh yeah, we figured out that we should be doing like the best cleans were like move out cleans, because the more time you have people on site and not driving around in the car using up fuel, not billable hours, the better. So then we started getting into, and then we started getting into carpet cleaning, and we started getting into all these higher value services that we should have got into earlier. But ultimately, we should have changed our structure to a contractor model. We should have franchised the business earlier, and the guy who bought it from me has actually gone down that path, and the business is flying. Nice. And you think, that's what I could have done if I had had the courage, and I should have also been much more judicious and cutting costs, a watchful eye. But I was running two businesses. I was running the coaching business as well. This like 7 years ago now, 8 years ago, and I just didn't have the
bandwidth.
Bandwidth and the wherewithal to make those tough decisions. But now I'm much more ruthless, isn't the right word, but direct in terms of what we should and should be doing in our business and in our members' business, because I've been through that pain and felt the pain of liquidating a company and having my back against the wall, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking, holy fuck, how do I make this work? And
then even going through the grind for 5 years, right, of repaying. We've all done it in our own personal finances and whatnot, of having to be like, okay, a guy was asking me yesterday about the debt that he's in. Is like any encouragement. I'm like, man, you kind of have to just try and enjoy this next 12 months of repaying debt and having nothing to show for it except the shit that you did have. You can try to speed it up by clearing some of the assets that you have or the things that you have that you don't actually use. But really, you've just got to go through that and you'll actually get a lot out of it that you get to take into the rest of your life.
Yeah. So all our members anyone who comes to us who is in the shit like that, we figure out, okay, first, how are we going to maximize the profit on the existing jobs? So we go through a job analysis of all the different jobs that they're currently doing. How do we maximize the profit on each of those jobs? Next, we look at what led to this in the first situation, in the first instance, because it's not typically one job that went bad. It's all these little lead bullets. There's no one magic silver bullet, but it's all these little holes in the bucket where maybe they didn't price the job correctly. They've got poor project management. They're not breaking their forecast labor hours down and having their team report the actual every day by stage and going, hey, we were meant to have 100 hours for the framing. We're halfway through the framing, but we're sitting at 72 hours. How do we pull back those next 22 hours in the next couple of weeks, or no one's getting their bonus? And so tightening that feedback loop and visibility leads to accountability. So if you know and show your numbers every day, you're going to improve massively without doing anything else. Because if you put your number of leads up on the board and it's Monday and your target for the month is 12 leads, 3 leads a week, and you get to Thursday and it's been 0, 0, 0, Thursday 1, Friday 0, you're like, holy shit, we need 5 leads next week or else we're not on track. What are we going to do to get some more leads?
Yeah. All right, so the big three. So the first one, numbers, then sales and marketing. What's our number 3?
Our team and systems. So systems run the business. They run every business. All a business is a collection of systems.
Yep.
And then training and hiring and onboarding the team to be able to run those systems the way that you want them to be run in your absence. So you're not chained to be on site all day, or you're not chained to the office to have to oversee everything.
Love it.
Because otherwise you've just got a busy job with overheads.
All right, so I've got an idea. Let's try and find 10 grand, just 10 grand of straight net profit for trades businesses. Let's start with builders, but I'm sure these principles will be able to apply. And then they can take this 10 grand and they can choose what do they do with it. So they might decide to actually invest in some coaching with you guys, or they might decide to piss it up down at the pub or whatever. But if we bash our heads together and go, okay, how can we help builders and tradies find 10 grand of pure profit in the bank account? Where do we start?
Well, I'm glad that you asked. The first thing to start would be to go to our website, because we have a downloadable lead magnet called 151 Ways to Make an Extra $500 to $1,000 per week on every
shit.
job. Yeah,
Nice.
no shit.
Yeah.
So we could even provide that as a resource for people.
Sweet. Yeah. I'll link it into the show notes.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So
And-
there's the first, 100 grand. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's categorizing it first, and it's looking at, okay, what are the different levers that we have to pull? So we have marketing, we have sales, we have on-site, we have labor, we have systems, we have suppliers,
Yep.
and then looking at, okay, and pricing.
Yep.
Which of those levers can I pull, and how can I go about pulling them?
Okay. The one that I think would have the least friction would be, for trying to think like a tradie, would probably be suppliers, where they think, I wonder if I could ask them to do something a little bit cheaper for me.
Absolutely. So every 90 days, take all your existing jobs or the latest job that you have priced, put it out to the different merchants and get them to come back to you with their best pricing, and do that across all the materials that you're using on every project. Just doing that one thing will help massively. So we had a friend of mine, a guy, Zane Beckett, who built the fastest growing company in New Zealand in 27 called ZB Homes. He won the Deloitte Fast 50. He was on the tools and it was raining. He was like, well, shit, I can't work outside. So what he did was he got on the phone, rang around his suppliers and talked through timber supplies, looked at fixtures and fittings, and saved 22 grand in the space of an hour and a half on his next project through doing that.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, holy shit.
There's something there. So now
Absolutely.
you build a process with the builders that you're working with to routinely go through and do that.
Absolutely. So we have in this document, in this 151 ways, it goes through step by step everything that you can do, like looking in the jumbo bins with your guys each day on site and having a look at what have they chucked out, incentivizing them for, cutting to the right size and not wasting, and then what you do with your copper, et cetera, et cetera. So this has 151 detailed strategies that you can go through and cherry pick the ones that are going to work for you.
Nice. Okay. Let's go to sales. What's something we can do in the sales space to bring in some profit?
Yep. So sales, one of the easiest things is asking for referrals. So we have a 1% referral system. So anyone who brings you a new job. So let's say you do, I don't know, new homes, and you're building a new 800K new home. Then if you refer me your friend Tom, when you refer Tom and Tom pays his initial deposit and signs a contract, you get 1% of the contract value. So you get $8 grand.
Cheapers.
I get the project 800K at a good margin, because every person who comes via referral, they're typically your best kind of clients. They're less price resistant. They have greater trust. And if you say, hey, Marty's a great builder, highly recommend him, go and have a chat, there's a good in there for the builder.
So I would imagine that you only want to do that, though, with jobs that you're pricing properly.
Oh, I absolutely do not. Yeah, that's a given, right?
Yeah.
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 So, and our smart members, they will then take this 1% referral fee. They'll get their team involved. They'll give it to their sub-trades, their subcontractors. They'll put it onto marketing collateral and onto their website, and then they'll send it out to everyone from their local business networking groups to Chamber of Commerce to their rugby team and the school newsletter. And so you can put ads in the school newsletter and say, hey, we'll give the 1% to the school so the school can help fund a new swimming pool, the hockey team to go to Canada or whatever. And so one of our members just recently got 3 new projects, 1.8 mil worth of work. The school got the 18 grand to put towards the hockey team going to Canada, and he got the 1.8 mil worth of work at a great margin at 21%. And those people know that, because the local community, that they're going to get great work because the builder is a stand-up guy and his kids go to that school.
Love it. So that's a lot different to I'm going to sponsor my son's rugby team in the hope that someone reaches out one day.
Yeah, hope is never a good strategy. Design your strategy.
Yeah, so you've put a deliberate system in place, and then you've got to have that confidence that you can have those conversations.
100%.
Yeah.
You can train your team. So another variation of that is you can have your team, like let's say you live...
Dannyburg.
I was thinking somewhere more upmarket,
Fuck, Hawara. Hawara.
Exactly. You're at Hawara, right? And you've got your ideal project that you're working on. Then you can get your guys who are working on that build go 2 to 3 streets wide with some flyers, and they might knock on each door with a Moro bar or whatever and say, hey, we're just working at 34 Smith Street. We're doing a renovation there. We're extending the house. We're putting a new bedroom on. Have you thought of, if you see of anyone driving around or in utes, that's us from XYZ building. And if you see anyone in a high-vis jacket or you hear any loud noises, that's us. My apologies for any noise in advance. Hey, and here's a bag of M&Ms or whatever for you and your kids. Yeah. By the way, have you thought about renovating your house, or do you know of anyone that might be looking to build or renovate in the area? Hey, great, because we have a referral program. Here's how this works.
Man, I love the shit, eh? And I love like, people won't do it either. Too scary, not
exactly.
enough time for that,
But the guys that do, it's a game changer. Just like our members who put out an info pack before they go and see. So rather than, oh yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, show up, should be about 3.5 square, no worries, I can hook you up. Our members will actually say, great, hey, before we come out, I've got a few questions. Do you have consent? Do you have plans? What's your budget? Have you talked to any other builders? Tell me a little bit about what you're looking to achieve with your project. Great. Okay, the next step is let's make sure, what do we need to do for Mrs. Smith to be there? Awesome. Great. Yep, I can pop out at 4:30 on Tuesday. That works next week. In advance, I'm going to send you an information pack that takes you through a little bit about our company, how we work, what happens, and our prelim budget process, so you can have a look and you know the kind of building company that we are that's going to help with the biggest investment of your life. So that helps to overcome know, like, and trust. And instead of you having to do a triple sell when you get there, like people are going to ask 4 key questions. Who are you? Who's your company? Can I trust you? And how specifically can you help me? So sales becomes easier when marketing does the heavy lifting. So in that pack, it's going to have frequently asked questions. It's going to have some of the suppliers. It's going to have your values, your rules of the game on site, and then a little breakdown of who's on your team and who's going to be in their house. So already you're setting the standard versus the 2 or 3 other builders that they might be talking to think, holy shit, this is how professional these guys are in the beginning. They're not just, oh, sorry, mate, I'm up a ladder. Can I call you back tomorrow?
Yeah, and then forget to call them back.
Yeah, exactly. Just sets a completely different tone and an expectation that they're not going to go under, that they have good systems and processes, and that this is how professional they are at the beginning. Imagine what they're going to be like to deal with through the project.
Love it. I've spoken to maybe about 150 combined tradies in 2 rooms over the last 6 weeks. And one thing I asked both of those rooms were, given how much the economy has changed in the last 12 to 18 months and the perception of it to continue to change, how many of you have gone back through and chased up your old leads, inquiry or prospects or proposal or pitches over the last little while? 0 hands.
Yep.
So maybe a simple win there for some of the tradies too.
Absolutely. And quite often that's because they're overwhelmed. And one of the key things is starting with systems. And the first thing that we do is 2 steps. Number 1, we go through their numbers and we look at your numbers and we look at where are you off in terms of gross margin, pricing, overheads, and net profit. Okay, great. We set a 90-day plan to improve your numbers. And we look at what is called your professional builder's rate. Well, this will intrigue you.
Yeah.
So we look at what's called PBR. So it's probably the number 2 number after gross margin on how well your company is operating in terms of efficiency and productivity. So your PBR is your total return, so your total profits and your salary to you as a business owner.
Okay, so my net profits plus the
salary that you're paying yourself.
Okay.
So let's make the maths easy. Let's say it's $250,000.
Which is a net profit, or that's in total?
Total.
So that's $150,000 net profit plus $100,000 PAYE salary to myself.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just trying to make the public maths, so I don't want to cock this up. Okay, and let's say you do 50 hours a week work
Yep.
to make your
250.
250.
Yeah.
Right. So we divide those two. Right. So $5,000 a week
Yeah.
divided by the 50 means that we're at $100 an hour.
Yeah. That's
Right.
And I see. So that's my professional
Builder's rate. Right.
So that's basically what my hourly rate is to generate that.
To yourself and value to the business.
Yeah.
So then it's everything that is below that you're currently doing, we're going to do an audit and we're going to look at how you're spending your week. And we're going to figure out what's everything below that you suck at, procrastinate on, don't like doing, or it's not in your zone of genius. And then we're going to either stop, automate, or delegate that.
Nice.
And that's how we focus on getting back 1 day a week in the first 30 days for all our members.
1 day a week. Far out. Nice. Yeah.
It's only 8 hours, and when I guarantee, if we look at everything that you're doing, that including yourself and myself, not all work is of equal value, and there's probably only 20% of stuff that we're doing that is actually moving the needle significantly. So it's what's the other 80%, and how do we get the stuff that you hate, suck, procrastinate on off your table so that you can, one, buy back some sanity. So of those 10 hours, you might take 5 hours, spend it with the family, going to the gym, etc. And the other 5 hours is going to be put into pricing, implementing the right systems, better marketing, so you can build the right kind of business.
Love it. Absolutely love it. These are good principles that anyone can apply across their business. We see that so often where the business owner won't be doing what they know they need to do because they are spending all this time on things that we can see from the outside they shouldn't be doing, but they believe that they have to do it because they can't afford to pay somebody to do it. But it's very clear if they paid that person to do that stuff, then they would easily be able to do that, which would generate more for them and the person that they're paying. I think there's more than 10 grand worth of net profit in there already. But if I were a builder, what I think I would do after going and practicing some of these things and proving that they work would be, because one thing that I often see is that especially trades type businesses, they will say, I'm stuck quoting and pricing and it takes heaps of time and I'm balancing like on the tools versus doing that. I would take some of this profit that you've made me in this last sort of 10 minutes and I would then go, right, I'm going to invest that into the likes of a Rapid QS. And this almost sounds like this is a marketing machine for Rapid QS.
It does.
He's going to be stoked when he finds out about this. But like this is where my brain goes to. I would go, well, my next bottleneck is pricing and it's frustrating. I'm going to pay someone to do that and I'm going to check my pricing versus theirs to see what they are doing that I'm not doing. Because my hunch would be, well, if I'm wrong and if I've got my numbers wrong, which probably going back to what you said before, numbers, people don't know them. Now I've made some extra money from some of the things you've told me to do. I'm going to invest it to see, are my numbers incorrect? Because if they are, then I'm leaving a shit ton of profit on the table. So that's how my brain thinks.
Couldn't agree more. Bang on. 1,000%.
Easy as that. All
Easy
right.
as that.
So tradies out there that are listening, go and make some money and do it with what we've just learnt from Marti and then go and invest it into understanding if your numbers are right. Now, that said, mate, I'm sure that there is even more gold in this book that you've spent 2.5 years putting together. So if people want to find this book, how can they get it?
Okay, so a couple of different ways. Number one, all they need to do is go to the website and you can get a copy of the book off the website, or we'll give a link in the show notes for them to go and purchase the book, and there's $3,000 worth of resources that they can get for free when they go and grab a copy of the book.
Are you looking to do an audio version of that?
Absolutely. Yep,
Wow.
the audio version's been recorded.
Wow.
And it'll be up on Audible, I think, in a few weeks' time.
I wonder if those who have Spotify Premium will then be able to access it via Spotify Premium in time. It might end up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if people are paying for that, then when you're working on the job site, get that in the old ears. Before we get out of here, mate, we've gone on, like I had a big structure of what we're going to talk about and I haven't even referred to any of those notes. So I had a feeling that might happen with you and I. But anyway, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to get across to business owners in general, tradies, etc.?
I think if you're in a tough spot or things aren't going the way that you want, then know that there is a better way. Reach out for help. It doesn't have to be us. It could be anyone else, like your accountant, could be anyone at Next Advisory or any other accountants. Reach out for some help. Reach out for support. Reach out for people who are where you want to get to, because you don't have to do it all on your own. And there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you can make a difference. It's just having that vision, getting a clear plan of what you need to do, and then getting after it.
I often say to tradies, but it's applicable for all businesses. You know, it's amazing how much effort we put into ensuring everybody gets theirs, but we end up eating last or don't get ours. So basically, the staff get paid; they get paid what they were promised to be paid. The suppliers get paid, the taxes get paid. The customer gets their house built, it gets wired, it gets plumbed, whatever. And then we go home and we say to our partner, like, oh, sorry, like there's nothing for Christmas this year, or, you know, we haven't done the work to figure out how we're going to get paid.
Read the book Profit First and take a profit first approach to your business, and get a copy of my book, The Profitable Builder's Playbook. Numbers, once you get over the fear of them, they'll really set you free. And yeah, take control of your numbers, take control of your destiny.
Love it, mate. Well, people will hear more from you, because I feel like we need to do a part 2 and a 3 and a 4 over the next couple of years, which I'm sure we will. But in the meantime, highly suggest you check out the Profitable Builders Playbook to learn and implement some of these things, to see that Marti's not full of shit. But I think with 2,500 businesses that you've helped under your belt, it should be pretty evident that there's enough skin in the game that you do know what you're doing, and applying your own failures and successes in this journey. But before we let you get out of here, what's next for you guys, and where are you going with the Professional Builder?
So we have a range of different seminars booked. We're doing seminars. We've been doing seminars throughout New Zealand with Carter's, ITM, and we're going to be doing seminars throughout New Zealand for the rest of the year. We're also doing seminars in Florida and Texas in July in America, and then we'll be going to Canada, the UK, and Australia for roadshows, and then we have our summit in Auckland next week. So we're going to be doing a lot more in-person events for builders to come meet up, 2.5-hour introductory evenings, and just see what's possible for their business.
So that's why you need a team of 61, because you've got a shit ton going on your plate. Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
Why is this so important to you?
Having almost gone under myself and been in deep shit, I know the stress of what it's like when you have a business that's not working for a sustained period of time. Like that was a 4-year, 5-year period for me, and I don't want anyone else to go through that. And I think with the right knowledge, the right support system, and you've got to have the mindset that shit, I'm gonna build something great. And I believe that most builders do great work. They just need the right hand, the right tools, and the right guidance to help build a great business. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, love that, mate. Very similar to, you know, what we see in the wider SME market, where I think business owners take so much risk and they have sleepless nights and whatnot, and we talk about how everybody gets theirs and they don't get theirs, and you think with just a little bit of education, their business could be completely different, therefore their life could be completely different. And if we can find more of those people that are willing to put up their hand and say, yeah, look, I love what I do, cleaning, building, law, whatever it is, but I don't know the numbers side of it. I don't understand how to, you know, do this a better way. But hey, I'm here to learn. And I feel like Kiwis at the moment, and especially we've got a wave of it coming through, especially with younger people, where they are really hungry.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things is like just reach out to someone for a chat. Like our team books have something like 200 calls every week with builders from all around the world, and we do an exploratory chat for 30 minutes and we figure out where you're at, what's working, what's not working, where do you want to get to. And then we do a game plan and we go through all your numbers. We get the exact strategies that are going to help you get to where you want to go to. And there's no obligation. And at the end, if you want to have a chat and see what are the opportunities to work together, we can talk about that. Or if not, then you have a plan and you know exactly what to do to take your business to the next level.
Love that. And I guess, you know, you've distilled a lot of that into this book too. So if people do go, you know what, I'm going to figure it out for myself, well, here you go.
Absolutely. Here's the playbook.
Or something, or?
Yeah. $29.95. Here's the playbook.
Yeah, happy days. Well done, mate. Well, and well done on the work you guys are doing out there. Because even, going back to before, you've got a summit coming up in New Zealand with 100 builders. There's Australians coming over. How many would be coming over from Aussie as a split of that 100?
I think we've got about 21 coming from Australia.
So there's 20% of that 100 that need accommodation. They're going to piss up here, I'd imagine.
Exactly. Well, then we've got 30 of our team coming, and they're going to be spending a lot on piss as well.
But, it's creating economic activity. You're going to Florida, Canada. You're exporting to the world. It's great to see, mate. Like hats off to you.
Thanks, Luke. I appreciate it. And big ups to you. Like, I really appreciate what you guys are doing with the podcast, one of the best in New Zealand, if not one of the best in the world. And your business, Next Advisory, hats off to you too.
Thanks, mate. Well, I'm many steps behind you, but hopefully I can continue to do some good work and help inspire others to do the same.
Let's go.
Yeah. The Professional Builder, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find them, Google them. You will find them. Very hard to miss. Don't click on their sponsored ads, otherwise you will cost Marty and the team some money.
All right. Thanks, Luke.